Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video with the Adventures of the Memory Makers. Today Cindy and I are up in the beautiful Upper Peninsula of Michigan, experiencing some really awesome fall weather for Michigan right now. If you're laughing about my outfit, it really wasn't planned this way. We kind of dressed for, or we kind of packed for warm or cold weather. Come to find out, it got to like 83, 84 degrees today, and we were hiking, what, about 6 miles?
Yes.
And we got pretty warm, so off came the pants legs, and I just haven't put them back on yet. But today we want to share a little trick with you that we've figured out along the way. If you're like us, you like to take your little camper out in remote areas, primitive campsites, try to find the quietest places that you can find to camp. And generally that also involves trying to figure out how to get water from the water source at a campground such as this to the water tank on board your camper. So we're very lucky in our camper. We've got a pretty good sized fresh water tank. So we just have to get the water from here to there in order for us to utilize it in our outdoor shower and our other water uses. So it just is my luck that this is, I think, my third time this year that we've been somewhere that I've had to physically carry water. So I've got this down pretty much to a science. So this pump works really well. In Michigan, up here in the UP, I believe they have 130 some state parks that are really nice camping. They're off-grid camping sites. They're pretty cheap, like 20, 25 bucks a night. And they all will be around some water source, either a lake or a river. And they all have a freshwater source. And majority of the time, it's going to be a pitcher pump similar to this or an old style cast iron pump. So you got to be able to get that water from this pump to your camper. So let me fill our tank up here real quick, and then we'll go over to the camper and I'll show you the old way of filling up our water tank and a much simpler way that we've come up with. So I've got my 6-gallon water jug full of water now, and that weighs just about 50 pounds. So the old-fashioned way of doing this was you take a funnel that you get, like a gooseneck type funnel, and you cut it off so that you can open up your water fill port, stuff this in here, and get it to stay on its own. Then the trick is you got to pick up this 50-gallon jug and carefully pour into this funnel, because now this funnel is going to go in to the camper, make a 90-degree turn down, and then run down into your water tank. The trick to this is you can't pour it in there too fast because that water will hit that 90-degree turn and splash back out at you. So you wind up holding this tank for a pretty long period of time while you're trying to carefully pour into this. It's just a very slow and painstaking way to do it. And to be honest with you, I'm not even going to show you how to do it because it's awful. So we're going to chuck that idea, set this guy to the side. And what I do instead is I use a jiggler pump. And if you've never seen a jiggler pump before, it's a real fancy name for a siphon device, essentially. So we're going to use this to create a siphon through this hose to suck the water out of this tank and put it into that tank. So let me set this up and I'll show you how easy this is. Okay, I've got everything set up now the way it needs to be in order to make this work. And if you know anything about a suction, you know that the tank that you're filling from into the tank that you're filling to needs to be higher than the one that you're filling into, if that makes sense, in order for gravity to actually pull the water down. So what I've done is just merely set my 6-gallon water tank up here on the counter in our kitchen, and that will be high enough to allow gravity to do its work and pull down in here. Now you could use just a piece of hose and suck on the hose and get the suction started yourself, but who wants to go camping to suck on hoses? So they make this neat little invention called a jiggler, and what it is, and I'll get it up here so that you can see it in the lens. Essentially what it is, it's a little copper valve with a marble on the inside, and that marble acts as a check valve. So when you push this down into your water, the marble goes up, water rises up into the tube, and then when you go to stop that action, push down, the marble goes down and shuts that off. So it's like putting your finger over a straw at that point. So it holds the water there. When you push down again, the water goes up, and eventually, enough of those repeated actions and you'll get water to start flowing through here. Creates a suction for you. It's super simple. And these are super handy to have on hand. I have several of them at the house. So what I'm going to do now is just stuff this down inside my water tank that I'm going to fill from. I put my hose into the water tank that I'm filling to, and then it's just a simple matter of taking this and pushing this down a couple times, and you can see water is right there. So then you just got to kind of play with it, find the sweet spot so that the water flows into the tank without running out. Right there. You can hear that water gurgling. That means you've got water flowing down your hose into your tank. And we timed this the other day when we were doing this. We emptied it in what, about 2 minutes? So in 2 minutes time, the suction emptied that 6-gallon water tank into our 24-gallon water tank into the camper, and no one had to suck on any hoses, no one had to hold any tanks. I mean, it's just a thing of beauty. I looked because I was curious to see who was the one that actually invented this whole gizmo, and I couldn't find that online. I'm gonna guess it was probably the Romans. They get the credit for all the good stuff, like toilets and jiggler pumps. So what I do is just kind of pay attention to how low it's getting in my tank. So in order for the jiggler or the siphon to suck all the water out of the tank, typically what I will do is it gets down, you know, down to the very last couple inches of the tank. I'll just tip the tank so that I get all my water down here in this edge of the tank, and that way it just allows this to suck it out much easier. So it is already getting there. I mean, it's just about got this tank sucked dry, and you can hear that marble kind of rattling around inside of the tank. That's just the water flowing through it that's rattling the marble around in that copper piece. And the tank is getting really light, so we're just about done. I mean, there's nothing more exciting than watch water flow through a hose. Nope, and that's it. So in less than 2 minutes time, we took 6 gallons from this freshwater tank, put it into our freshwater tank in the camper, and now that allows us to have, you know, the use of our water pump, our water heater, our shower room. You know, we can wash our dishes. I mean, having hot water and fresh water at your camper is just a huge, huge plus. Cindy, would you agree with that?
I would completely 100% agree with that.
Yeah. There are other ways that you could get water from this tank into that tank. You could use a 12-volt operated pump, you know, motor operated vane style or diaphragm pump. The downside to those is our most power hungry consuming device in our camper is our water pump. The moment you turn that water pump on, the power really starts flowing. So, you know, this is a, you know, essentially a no powered required device. Stick it in there, push it up and down a couple times, and you're pumping water from one tank into another. It has multiple purposes around the campsite as well. You know, we use it to empty our cooler out when it gets down to just water, so that way we aren't lifting the cooler out. So another handy use of your jiggler pump is when your cooler ice finally goes away and you're stuck with nothing but water. I know I could pick that cooler up and set it out here and dump it out, but after my last hernia surgery and the complications from it, I'm in no hurry to do that again. So what I want to do is just take my jiggler pump and put it here in the corner of my cooler and put my outlet down below a couple times, get good flow started, and there we go.
Wow.
So for less than 20 bucks, you can pick one of these things up. We'll put a link to it in the description. You can get it off Amazon, order it in. If you've got Prime, get free delivery. You know, they're just super handy to have on hand. You know, for the money, you know, pick one up. You'd be surprised how often you're going to need it if you camp in places like we do. So thank you very much for watching. Till the next video, happy camping.